This is like the fourth time I've shot this video in some sort of way or fashion, location, whatever it was. As many of you know, maybe some don't know, I did close PSR this past year in 2024. It is now almost the end of January in 2025. It's crazy that we're in 2025 and the year has almost passed us by. Not the year, but the first month, I should say. What am I thinking? Anyways, so yeah, I shot a video of a friend of mine I made. I'm no longer living in Pennsylvania, so I don't really have anybody with where I'm currently at that I'm friends with or I know, but I did meet a guy down here, and we originally linked up because I got a 33-foot sailboat from him, and at the same time, you know, him and I have been sailing. He has a 14-foot Hobie catamaran. Him and I have been sailing together. So I shot some video wearing like a chest cam with a GoPro, and shot some video of it, but kind of realized like can't go posting this on my YouTube channel without kind of explaining all the changes I've gone through in the past, I would say 6 to 8 months really. So as many of you know, it's something I had posted on my Facebook a couple times, and it was a pinned topic on my Facebook for a while. But a little bit over a year ago, December of 23, I went to Belize for 2 weeks, and I was down there lionfish hunting and just doing a bunch of conservation work while I was there. It was a great trip. I was probably, at the time, just because of what I was doing and, kind of, what I realized, unfortunately, more than anything is boredom for me is like the worst thing. Like when I don't have a fixed plan of like what I'm doing or what I want to do and whatever, I kind of just hang out and sit around. So with that being said, that was a great trip. I had a good time. I went on that trip and I did a ton of, just diving. I think I did, just on the first week, I think I did 13 or 14 dives. One of them I was down at like 92 foot at one point, which I'm not supposed to dive that deep, but I did anyways with the group. I had a great time. I don't know my exact count personally of how many fish we got. For those that aren't familiar, this isn't like a typical hunting trip where we're down sport fishing or anything like that. Lionfish are invasive to the Caribbean. They actually kill the reefs pretty quickly. They kill a lot of the animal life, plant life, all that kind of stuff. They're very, very invasive to the Caribbean. And because of that, there's a lot of tournaments and also just conservation trips you can do, stuff like that are involved in the Gulf of, well, I don't know, what are we calling it anymore? I don't even want to get political on this, but in the Gulf of Mexico, America. But yeah, anyways, with that being said, I had a great time on that trip. I came back and, I had, at the time, I want to say I was about 210 pounds. A couple weeks before I went on the trip, I lost 10 pounds beforehand. I came back at 180. It was very clean food they were feeding us the entire time. Even once I came back on the mainland at the second week of my trip, it was still everything was very fresh, very tropical. I was able to eat fruit that I wasn't able to eat here in the States down there. I'm like pretty allergic to anything that has I don't remember the name of the enzyme in it, but it mimics latex. So one of the things I can't eat is I can't eat avocado, I can't eat bananas. There's a couple other random, things that I gotta watch eating them or how ripe they are when I eat them. But I was eating at least a banana every morning down there. Their bananas aren't near as big as ours, but I was eating a banana at least every morning, to kind of keep my potassium up because of how much we were doing, about 3 dives a day, and there was always a potential for a fourth. So, it's a great trip. What I learned on that trip is, as much as I tried to pre-plan, now this is something where I had pre-planned this trip for 18 months. People that I worked with, that I was close with, whatever, they knew I was going to be, temporarily closing the shop for an extended period of time. And I didn't have service for a solid week. And I had somebody severely break my trust, on that trip, which was kind of like the first stepping stone of me being like, I am over this shit. The fact that I couldn't even take, a week, because at this point I was gone for a week. I couldn't even take a week off to go do something that not only was a vacation, so to speak, for me, but I was also doing something to give back to, I don't know, what do you want to call it? The environment, society, however you want to look at it. But, I was trying to do something to give back and do something different and so on and so forth. And, here I was, I had somebody, I was specifically said, like, this is how I want things handled while I'm gone. And my trip back on the boat, I literally got service, and, in the moment, it was literally like as it was happening, I caught something going on that I was just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, this is not, like I said, no, like this can't happen while I'm gone. Which kind of put me in a mood. I had such a great time on that trip, and to come back as soon as I get back on the mainland, because I was on an island about 22 miles offshore, and as soon as I get back on the mainland, I have my trust getting broken. I have somebody, that I said specifically, like, hey, like, this is how I want things handled, and things were just done improperly, which makes it really difficult because I'm in another country. I don't know what's going on, people aren't answering the phone, like, so on and so forth. And then at the same time, like I said, I'm trying to just still experience, like, at that point I had another 2 days that I was able to stay there if I wanted to, and I planned on it. And at this point I'm like, well, I want to cut my trip short and go home and lose my shit. But I got checked into the bungalow I was staying in once I was back on the mainland, took some time to relax, and at the same time, I had flown down United, I think. It was either United or American, I forget. But I flew down on one of those airlines, and there was a storm that was going through the Gulf, and they had said, like, that there was going to be delays. If there's anybody that wanted to postpone, they would let that happen, and there would be no surcharge, and so on and so forth, all this stuff. And I basically said, screw it, like, I'll stay a couple extra days. And I stayed there for another week, and basically was shore fishing, like going out with a 3-pronged spear, and I was free diving off the shore and killing, fish to sell at the local market there. Killed quite a bit of lionfish in that little experience. Also got some snappers, stuff like that. So it was definitely an interesting experience. Came back, and like I said, I was in really, really good shape coming back. I had spent so much time on the water, really had done a lot. And then I forget exactly when I got back, what the exact date was in December of 2023, but on New Year's Day of 2024, I crushed my L5 at the shop trying to lift the block like an idiot. And I was only trying to lift it about 8 inches up, but it literally, I felt a huge pop in not only my back, but in my hips. I could barely walk into my office to get there and just sit down in my chair. I ended up going to the chiropractor later that day. He took a look at me and he said, like, look, you should really get x-rays done, so on and so forth. And I kind of medicated more heavily than I really should between taking, I had at this point, gotten off of taking acetaminophen. For those that know, When I came out of the hospital after I broke my back, I was on Oxy. I hated it, but it was the only way I could manage my pain. At the same time, it also ramped up my drinking, which obviously wasn't good. So once I got off of Oxy, I kind of ramped up my drinking further, and at the same time, that put me into, well, I'm just going to take acetaminophen all the time. And I was taking about 4,000 milligrams of acetaminophen every day, plus drinking on top of it. Really good for you. So next step, after this whole thing happened, I didn't really take care of it like I should have. I just kind of was like, oh, everything will heal. And then, move forward a couple months. One of the things that had happened during this trip with, me basically being in Belize is about a week before I was leaving, the guy I had started the shop with, who actually, in my opinion, really should have been at least co-owner with me, but was never really interested. And many of you would know him as well. He's been in a couple of my videos, been in a couple other videos here and there. His name's Charlie. Charlie had put his 2 weeks in with me, which was basically falling in the middle of my trip. And what we ended up doing was he was able to stay a little bit longer till after I got back. And he was gone by the time this injury had happened on the 1st. I don't blame him for leaving. He had an hour commute every day. He was offered more money, benefits, kind of the stuff that I wasn't really able to offer, because I wouldn't say it was a bad business model or decision for me, but I did a lot to try and promote the shop. So there was a lot of times where, like our shop rate for the majority of the time that I was open was $125 an hour. And I had multiple customers that, we had some sort of level of sponsorship with them, where they had a agreement with us where they were supposed to promote the shop, do this, do that, and the other thing. And, they would either have a half rate, or, one person even had a rate for $50 an hour for 2.5 years. So, and that was a specific vehicle where I would just work on it myself, and that way it was only really my overhead that was a thing. The problem was I had so much tuning work, it was hard to kind of balance that out, but I did it, and I built that person a really cool car, and it still hasn't gone as fast as it went when I was working on it and doing everything that was done to it. And it had a lot more potential. I just never really had the time to be able to get things going, because everything, as much money was in the car, a lot of stuff was nickel and dimed on it, and it ended up becoming, more of a pain, where if the money was spent correctly from the beginning off of what I suggested, things would have been different. But a lot of times it was always kind of portrayed to this person that all I wanted to do was just make him spend money, which was not true. Anyways, so that being said, Charlie leaves. When everything happened with my hips, I had a guy working for me at the time that I had just started in December. He was actually kind of watching over the shop in December while I was gone. He did a great job with making sure like the heat was okay, like so on and so forth. And he did all that and did a great job with it. But one of the things that kind of transpired in that was that, there was a lot of stuff where like he just couldn't do certain things that needed to be done shop-wise because he didn't have the experience. And he wasn't familiar with our sort of brand. Like he could work on cars, but didn't really know much about LS's, V8s, any of that kind of stuff. Was more of a road race type of guy than I would say anything with drag racing or drifting. So ended up, one of the other guys that was working for me at the time, he was late the day that I hurt myself. It was already one of those situations where he hadn't shown up multiple times in a row. I ended up letting him go. Hired another guy a couple weeks after that, and between him and the other guy I had working for me, basically two people I had working for me at the time, they lasted until about, I want to say it was like April. Just their level of, like, hey, this is how I want to do things, this is my business, this is how I want to run it. They just kind of were just doing everything the way they wanted to. And in a production situation, that's not a big deal. But when you're doing customizable work like what I was doing with PSR, you got to kind of have somebody there to look over things. And, when you're not familiar with the exact work that you're doing, you need to have people involved. So those two guys kind of left all at one point. It was while I was doing some work with going to the doctor, trying to take care of what I had going on my back, so on and so forth. At the same time, in this period of time, March, April, the garage door broke, the landlord wouldn't fix it. I was tired of putting money into stuff around the building, which was falling apart around us to begin with. And we just kind of worked on what we had in the building without having a big garage door to get stuff in and out of. Or I had to use the forklift to put the damn door up and down. So that was a whole nother fiasco in and of itself, and it took about 3 months almost till they actually fixed the garage door to where we could use it again. So it was like kind of like one thing after another. At the same time, I finally went and took care of what I had going on with my back. And I had a surgery done for what had happened to my L5. I had already had the surgery done from my T10 to L2, and then we had the L5 in there, and just like my level of pain was through the roof. And I kind of made the decision after that situation with my back that it was time to work on getting sober and staying sober. So started to, and then it just was like, again, kind of one thing after another, and I'd get bored or something would happen or whatever the case was, and I'd slip right back into being a mess. So it kind of came down to, once it was, I had a couple things out there I was trying to work on outside of the shop, and once it was about July, I had said, like, I'm just done. We had something else happen, which was a really shitty situation for me. Never been down this road before, but I had somebody break into the shop in May and stole about half the stuff that was for my RX-8 that I was building with Joe. And when this happened, it just kind of was like a huge kick in the balls. I had some really expensive parts that were stolen. All in total, everything that was stolen out of the shop was about $77,000. I was kind of just shit out of luck on it. I tried to figure some stuff out, work with insurance, so on and so forth, and it's just kind of a really uphill battle. And then I had people start coming after me that were customers because they were saying I wasn't trying to do anything, and it's like, well, I can't do anything because, like, this is how insurance works. Like, it takes some time to get all this stuff together. But everything was, Brad ripped me off, did this, that, or the other thing. I had people accuse me of being the one that broke into the shop, which was like asinine. Like, why would I steal my own stuff? Doesn't even make sense. But anyway, so I moved forward. Basically in July, I had started working on some stuff. I was doing some CAD work, remote work, shit like that, just trying to get a little bit outside of, working on stuff at PSR. And then officially, I had already filed the paperwork to close the business down. It was just basically kind of moving stuff out and getting things moved around, which I thought would be something that could be done in 30 days. It ended up taking about 90 altogether to empty that place out. And I still have stuff in storage that I'm just like, man, like, I don't even know what I'm ever going to do with it because I'm not anywhere close to Pennsylvania anymore. I don't have a shop anymore. I don't have a place that I'm working out of, any of that kind of stuff. I'm sitting on the couch in my place right now, just kind of chilling. And like I said, I felt as though it was necessary to kind of put out there, like, hey, some things happened. This is what and why and so on and so forth, and kind of moving forward. I still plan on, I would like to get back into, at some point this year, I would like to get back into working with maybe a couple people that are racing, and then also doing some stuff with tuning as well. Where I'm currently at, I don't have a dyno to use or anything like that, so it makes it a little bit difficult, especially because nobody knows who the hell I am down here anyways. That was a big thing, just to kind of pick up everything and decide, like, you know what, like, I need a change of pace, people, all that kind of stuff. I kind of got rid of the way that certain people were, or kind of got tired of the way that certain people were treating me up north, and I hadn't even done anything to them. Hell, it's even hard for me to post on social media right now without having people start something with me that I don't even know who the hell they are. It's funny how much people talk about you I guess behind your back, and when you publicly say something, like I'm sure there'll be stuff that's said on this video, I'm gonna have to moderate the shit out of it. But it's funny how when you post something and people will just come out of the woodwork and just start saying stuff. Like, hell, I got people that blame me for stuff that happened at Carl still that has nothing to do with me. What people don't know about the whole situation with Carl is basically the woman that he had married while I was working for him, she basically black widowed him. With me saying that, what I mean is that she wanted, she thought that he had a lot more money than he did. Carl was always one to kind of exaggerate on some stuff. Great guy, he was a great mentor. I loved working for him. I loved everything that him and I had going on with the dyno and all that stuff, engine building, everything we had going on together. He was a great mentor. And it really sucked when I was working for him and for his, widowed wife now to kind of, basically say like, oh, like, like Brad's trying to take your customers, like this, that, or the other thing. And really all I was trying to do is I wanted to buy Carl's shop. I wanted to make that place, a little bit better than it was. There was a lot of stuff I had put into it that even when I left there. And then thankfully, moving forward, I had enough connections in the area where I was able to work with Tony Martin at Freedom Motorsports, and then also ended up with PSR as well. Still, I didn't burn a bridge with Tony as far as I'm concerned. Him and I still message each other every now and then. I'm sure if I wanted to, find another place to work back in PA, I could. But I don't even want to be up there right now. One of the things, like I had said, is dealing with some of my physical pain. Being in the cold, it just really doesn't really work for me. So that's kind of where I'm at now. It's much easier on me. It still kind of sucks. It's cold here right now too, but not near as bad as it is at home. But and things haven't been perfect where I'm at. I ended up got down here, and I think I was here for like 2 months, and ended up my backpack was taken from me, which, if many of you know, I always walked around with a black backpack. In that backpack was my tuning laptop. Also had my Ray-Ban Stories glasses in it, one of my GoPros, and really a bunch of other stuff. So basically I had, honestly, I can't even put a number on what my laptop was worth. Laptop alone was $1,200 brand new, but I had the last 15 years of work on it. Luckily, one of the things I did still have, and I just found it 2 days ago, but one of the things I did still have was my backup hard drive, and I have some of my files. I don't have everything. A lot of the most recent stuff I've done over the past year and a half, I don't have at all. And I probably won't ever have it unless for some reason my backpack ever shows the hell up. But some of the other stuff that I've done over the years, some of the files I've made, some of the designs I've done as far as stuff on CAD, I do have a backup of most of that now. And I actually, up until this week, I actually thought I lost all of it. So it's one nice thing is I at least did back up more than I realized. And I was able to find that hard drive I was talking about. That was a big thing, like with me moving everything out of PSR, a lot of stuff got packed up, and I don't remember what box it was in, because we were just packing stuff up as quick as we could to move it, especially like the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I lost that, and then beginning of this month, I'm down here, and like I kind of alluded to in some of my stuff, with what we're talking about, I've had health issues throughout, like basically since I've had my accident with, with breaking my back initially back in 21. Now I've been dealing with all of this, and just trying to, believe it or not, like you would think like, oh, it'll only take a year or so to get healed. Like I still am like really in the same pain I've been in since 3 months after getting out of the hospital after my back surgery and my car accident and all that stuff. So I don't know what the deal is there. I actually just had an MRI the beginning of this year, the first week of January, and they told me that I have some disc stuff going on in my lower back, so it's probably half my nerve pain that I get. And then at the same time, while they were scanning everything, and I kept complaining of chest pain, basically like up in here. I have asthma, for those of you that don't know, but I have asthma, and I just kind of thought it was something asthma related. And you know, I'm in a clinic. I wasn't even in the ER. I went to a clinic, and they come in and basically say, "Hey, we're transporting you to the hospital." And I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "Well, you have a pulmonary embolism. There's 2 in each of your lungs." So that was a whole other thing. If you're not familiar with what a pulmonary embolism is, it's basically like a clot in your lungs. And if that clot comes loose, it's like an instant, you're dead. Now, if you're under some sort of supervision in the hospital, a lot of times they can catch it early enough to be able to take care of it. In my case, they put me on blood thinners and all this shit, and we're basically like, hey, you can't do anything strenuous, you know, so on and so forth. Just kind of keep it easy, and you know, it's going to take a couple weeks for you to kind of get through this. We're going to reevaluate in 3 months, but you have to check in with your doctor and all this stuff. So added in a whole nother aspect of like, oh great, like now I have all these problems going on, and you know, I'm still want to do stuff I can't even do at this point, because I couldn't even really be working on cars right now if I wanted to. So that sucks. You know, and I've been dealing with that over the last couple weeks. You know, and I just, you know, kind of had a lot of stuff going on. You know, moving forward for this year, I'd like to obviously focus on my health, get things better. You know, and there was some stuff I wanted to do this year that I'm not going to be able to do. One of the things I wanted to do was there was a lionfish tournament that goes off 3 times in the year. I wanted to do at least one of them, but because of the embolisms, I'm not even allowed to scuba dive. Maybe never again. You know, there's a possibility that I could get better within the next 3 to 6 months, but it's something that the pulmonary doctor needs to evaluate with me and decide, yes, he'll be able to eventually dive again, or no, you know, he's going to have to be on blood thinners for the rest of his life, and the diving thing is out of the question. Where that becomes an issue as well for me is, if you're not familiar with how diving works, you have what's called safety stops, and there are certain levels of depth as you come from whatever depth you dove to back to the surface. I have to be super smart with that now, because if I blow a safety stop, it's like, honestly, it's just asking for having an issue. So yeah, I just kind of really, the last year I would say has really kind of been a kick in the balls, and it was my big thing of like kind of to where I got to as far as just everything with the shop. It felt as though it was necessary just to close up and, you know, move forward. I never really wanted to have PSR. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. There was a lot of really cool stuff I did. You know, I worked with some really cool people, companies, so on and so forth, and I appreciate everybody that did, you know, work with me, give me a chance, and all that kind of stuff. It just kind of, at this point, you know, I can't, you know, willingly commit to working with anybody as of yet to do a bigger project or build a car or anything like that until I know I'm not going to sit in the hospital again for 4 days. You know, that's not fair to anybody. It just stresses me out when I'm in the hospital, to be honest with you. But you know, as far as dealing with the customer as well, like, it's not fair to them. So, you know, as of right now, I am going to still be available for certain consultation work when it comes to car stuff, tuning, as far as remote tuning goes. I can do in-person tuning as well. We got to work on a couple things, but I still do have access to the dyno. You know, it is still available to get used, so I do plan on trying to do some stuff back home. Probably not until February, but I would like to at least get things situated, and maybe February, March, do a couple classes, you know, and kind of go from there. You know, I have a lot that I have to kind of build back up and work on to get that level, because I need a car to use for the classes, and then also I need to kind of get back connected with people, stuff like that. I know there's a lot of people that still do respect me and would want to work with me and stuff like that, but at the same time, it becomes difficult when you also have people just running their mouth like crazy. And I've had certain people that have been close with me for multiple years kind of take a step back and be like, hey, like, get yourself straight, and then we'll talk from there. So as you can tell, I've been very open in this video as far as like some of my personal struggles plus also business struggles. I have nothing to really hide. I don't really care anymore as far as trying to save face or image, because I don't own a business anymore. Could I open up something again? Maybe. I'd rather, to be honest with you, I'd rather stay contracted like I used to be. I really did enjoy I would say from 2019 and prior, doing the work that I did where I just had a shit ton of tools, which I still have, and I would take whatever equipment I wanted as well to whatever place I was working with. Like hell, I would bring my own damn welder to some of the places I worked at. So, with that being said, that's kind of where I plan on what I plan on moving towards. But as of right now, I can't even really do any of that stuff. Like, I'm not shaky, but like I'm shaky enough to where I really couldn't even TIG weld that well, just because of the medications that they have me on. And that sucks. I could sit and do stuff on my laptop, but that's about as far as things are going to go at the moment. And hopefully within the next 1 to 2 months or 1 to 3 months, I'm on a better path, and so on and so forth. But with that being said, like I said, my next video that's going to come out after this is going to be my sailing adventure. I would like to post more sailing videos, especially, like I said, I have the 33-foot boat down here where I'm at, and then Larry has his Hobie Cat. I know he plans on getting something else eventually, but I even thought about, because the weather's kind of decent for tomorrow. It's a little chilly, but kind of decent for tomorrow. The wind's pretty good. Even thought about saying something to him like, hey, like, you want to take your Hobie Cat out, but just kind of play it by ear, go from there. And I'm going to try and post more stuff up, because I do have more available time to be able to sit and edit these videos and do stuff like that. But anyways, I'm Brad with Ace Tune. Thank you for tuning in and checking up with me. To be honest, if you have some bullshit to say to me, don't even waste your time. I'm just going to delete it. I'm not going to get in an internet battle with you. I really don't care what your opinion is. Those that have a decent thing to say, I appreciate it as well. You're more than welcome to comment. But I'm not going to have a bunch of shit going on where people are going back and forth saying a bunch of dumb stuff about me, whatever. It just isn't, it doesn't help me with anything with getting better and, not having to deal with the stress that I was dealing with before. I would, depending on what I have going on over the next couple weeks, I would like to sit down and kind of go over some stuff with, making some videos of building bass tunes, stuff like that, just to kind of get some more content on the channel on that type of stuff. Like, hey, here's how to build a bass tune for this, that, or the other thing. But it's gonna be one of those things where, I gotta kind of work on what I want to do there and maybe put together a little bit more of a project line. And also, I just need to be able to focus on that a little bit further. Right now, I don't even feel like I could sit down and focus on making an hour-long video, which an hour-long video usually takes, it's a solid probably 2 to 3 hours of work at minimum to make that hour-long video. So, when I get there, I'll get there. I would like to put some more stuff up. I would like to put together, I definitely want to put together something with the Haltech Rebel. I haven't done a video on that other than the unboxing one when I got it for the RX-8. I still too have my Rebel. I did do a short little video with Travis from Powdered Remedies, because he also got a Haltech Rebel from me. The only issue there was that was right when I was getting ready to move, and right when the shop had to close, and we had brought his car in. I messed around with it a little bit, and we just had problem after problem of stuff that was wrong on his car for the install. And he had done the install with him and a friend, and they had some wiring issues outside of the Haltech that I was never able to shoot that video, unfortunately. And then with half my stuff getting stolen for the RX-8, obviously that project isn't happening. I had another project going on down here, but I don't even want to get into what happened there. It's something that I'll post about that project when I get a chance. I think I have some videos on this camera of the car, of me working on it here, and then, you know, things just kind of went south. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Like I said, I'm Brad with Ace Tuned. I know I have to get my website back up and running. I had pulled it down just because I was getting a lot of traffic off of it that I wasn't able to deal with. And I would like to get it back up and work with people on remote tuning and so on and so forth. So thank you for checking me out, and I'll see you guys on this next video I put up with my sailing stuff. Have a good one.